you need to go out because you only have your laptop to use. And then you'll get into B. A and B.
But without further ado, time now is 11:30, and as we know that I would be showing my face at 11:40 when the presenters have 5 minutes left, which will also allow us 5 minutes of which to do answers. Our first speakers with the title Household Water Stress, Adaptation and Resilience in Some Selected Peri-Urban and Rural Communities of Oyo State, Nigeria, by Popula, Makitimisha, and Chipungu. Over to you while we are uploading. Let us just make sure that we ensure that we do have our presenters on board. I think that I have seen Popula here, and we are ready to upload. Yeah. If Ayobami, if you are ready to upload, you are welcome to upload.
I'm ready to upload, but it's saying host disabled participant screen sharing. Can you hear me?
Hello, Ayobami, are you ready to share your screen?
Yes, I am ready to share my screen, but I'm not allowed. It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay. He's ready, but he cannot. Ayobami, you are a co-host. You should be able to upload your screen. Just open and share.
All right. Okay.
You ready to share? Are you struggling there, Ayobami? Or are you ready to share?
Yes, I am. I'm actually struggling. Still saying the same thing.
Ayobami, can you advise how you're doing with the sharing of your screen?
Share screen.
Okay,
Clicking share screen. It's saying host disabled participant.
No, the host, you are a co-host. You should be able to share. You are a co-host. Looks like he got kicked. It looks like Ayobami got kicked out. In that event, whilst Ayobami sorts out his issue, maybe we could then move on to Samuel Medayese and Angwelani Mangidesha to upload, and then we can bring in Ayobami once they have concluded. Is that okay with you guys? No, Ayobami, are you back? Samuel? Oh, here we go. Okay, we have got Ayobami. Thank you very much, Ayobami. Over to you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Good morning. My name is Ayobami Pokwala. Thank you very much for having me here. Apologies for the delay. I think the technical glitches is from my side. I'm having that difficult. Can everybody hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. The title of the topic says household water stress, adaptation resilience in some selected peri-urban and rural communities in Oyo State, Nigeria. I'll be the one presenting the co-authored article with me and some colleagues. All right, I'll quickly run through the presentation format, the general overview, the study methods and materials, and I will have a brief finding and discussion. Then I will arrive at the conclusion of the study. The quick introduction says it's very important that we identify that generally the relevance of water is very important, whether for consumable, whether for industrial activity, whether for domestic use, whether for water as a value-added service in maybe our institutions and the likes. We cannot downgrade the importance of water. And the inability for us to downgrade the importance of water shows in the fact that when Geltman and Toll identified that water is very essential in achieving sustainable agenda, in improving livelihood capacity, in bringing about improved living conditions. Narrating the importance of water also points to the fact that there are various threats to water resources within settlement. Those threats I try to identify from literature brings the place of water quality, how portable are these water, shortage, the availability, where do I get it, is it readily available, supply within the context of provision, maybe from government, and also the effect of increasing population on water access, water quality, water availability, and even water supply. The study further reported that despite the increasing water demand in Africa, there's undoubted the fact that policy issues with regards to water has been at the failed state. The argument of the paper, therefore, is the fact that irrespective of their issues as regards Africa as a whole, the water condition might be poor. The exposure is quite high within rural and urban areas. Then we argue that achieving the SDGs, which is about clean water and sanitation, might be threatened, if I may use that word. And this is reflected in Malta et al., which identified that the relevance of water security to sustainable development. Having said this, I conclude in this introduction section from some presentation by Akide 2019, which narrated that wide general water scarcity is experienced across Nigeria. rural and peri-urban villages are the most exposed. And their exposure is as a result of what? Because they are heavily dependent on open water sources. And they are dependent on open water sources because of lack of even water supply provision by the national government, or even provision of adequate potable water, even from borehole or ringed well. The exposure is more worse in places like Oyo State, which is much more characterized by poor water insecurity. The general methodology of the study starts from the fact that the study country is Nigeria, but we're in Nigeria, the southwestern part of Nigeria, which is shown in my left, which is almost at your right, the green color, which comprises of 6 states, Oyo State, Osun State. And the other right is the map of Oyo State, which has 33 LGAs. So from these 33 LGAs, which is a flow diagram, which explains the selections of the sample. Nigeria, 6 regions, southwestern region of Nigeria, 6 states. From 6 states in Nigeria, Oyo State. From Oyo State in Nigeria, 3 senatorial districts. And from these 3 senatorial districts, I selected a sample were from 3 LGAs, respectively, in each of the senatorial districts. The study was more purposive because it's more focused on rural areas. 500 household units were sampled across 11 villages, in 9 villages, in 9 LGAs, across the 3 senatorial districts. Interviews also corroborated the household questionnaire, which explains the fact that the study is actually a mixed method and a cross-sectional survey approach. The general, I'll provide a very quick finding and discussions of this to the study. One is that based on reported incidents in water infrastructure across the study area, it is understood that these peri-urban and urban villages are a reflection of survival and adaptation to lack of water availability. That means they tend to develop mechanism towards their adaptation. As I go ahead, we will see some of the mechanism which they have tried to develop. It also reflected from the study that there's water shock and water struggle. Water shock in the sense that distance travel often increases. And this is explained by the Culture-Waltz ranks sum test, which was carried out to explain that there's a significant variation in distance travel to source of water, source of quality water. Source of quality water in this instance, I mean that portable, how portable and how consumable is the water. It is also identified from the study area that high risk exposure to waterborne diseases. And this is majorly attributed because of there's a lack of or inadequate potable water sources. That has led to what? Exposure to waterborne diseases. Yes, the study did not carry out, did not ask questions with regards to their experience of waterborne disease, but we identified based on a observation that this might be the incidence. And this reflected the lack of water, or the place of population and water availability is reflected in increasing Q in the picture which you see in the middle point, where there's IQ at the available potable water point, the borehole and pump borehole point. There's a Q. That means the population is higher than the water supply, and that explains that water reliability, as far as the water infrastructure within such area is concerned, might not be readily available. It might not be readily reliable. Sorry. The finding point that as travel distance to capital city, that means Ibadan, within this Oyo State now, as distance to capital city increases, household access to potable water decreases, and this explains that. That means rural areas or extremely isolated settlements might be threatened with regards to access to water infrastructure. And assertions were pointed at the place of poor government commitment to water infrastructure to rural areas, the place of incompletion or collapse of and the unsustainability of water infrastructure project, which is seen in the left hand, the borehole facility which was sunk but not completed by, and also poor maintenance. Another image which is also on this screen, which shows that a water borehole which is not sustainable. This can be explained by that. We took a random sample of the distribution of public potable water points vis-a-vis some of the 40 water points within even the sample community. And this image, the one to my left, which can be to your right, is the distribution of the water point. And the other one is distribution to the 40 water point. That explains that even most of these potable water points, so to say, are faulty. Add one fault or the other. Either the hand pump is faulty, or the sustainability of the water, that means it's seasonal or time-based. You might be able to fetch water, get potable water from it only in the morning. The poor condition of water infrastructure negatively impact of negative exposure of household poverty. Because how do I explain this? This means that in most instances, most households tend to travel farther away from their settlement to access water. Some of them have to take motorbikes, pay transport to fetch water, which vis-a-vis has an effect on their household expenses and indirectly their household income. So I provided some of the interview which was conducted, and I tried to screen grab some of the comments by the field during the field interview. One of them was that a question was asked as to the role of community in improving water demand condition in the village. And the village leader said, after the installation of the borehole, that is by the government, has given us the mandate, the government gave them the mandate to repair and to maintain it. The materials that were used were not standard. That means the government, when they constructed the borehole, the standard was very poor. They also recorded that the first time that the thing got spoiled, they've been spending money of it, which points to the fact that the village setting, within the village setting, they've been incurring one debt for repair and for construction, for the repair and the upgrade of the facility ever since the government repaired it. This explains the place of poor governance of infrastructure. Another person mentioned that one of the boreholes sunk by the state government has no handle to pump it. The hand pump borehole does not have handle. So the question is, how would such borehole function? All the boreholes dug by the government are malfunctioning and will still buy water at general at the price of buying a container of water. And in most instances, some of them mentioned that they use 3 gallon or 5 gallon, depending on the household size, for feeding and also for drinking. This points as a threat to their livelihood. I conclude, this study concludes that potable water infrastructure accessibility, availability, and functionality varies across Oyo State. Its availability and functionality is often defined by distance from a capital city. That means distance defines maybe a water infrastructure is accessible, maybe it's available, or is doing its function. Availability within this context has to do with availability of potable water source, a ringed well or a borehole. The study identifies increased household expenses. That means most of them have to purchase. In some instances, also it also identified queuing. They have to queue for longer hours. That means waste of man hour. In most instances where they queue, the female household head or even the children are also at the receiving head. Recommendation: the study recommends that there's a need for increased cooperation towards the maintenance of water facility among communities. That means one's community should not be dependent, should not be the one to maintain one infrastructure, so that the burden will not be high. And at the same time, the place of the government using standard materials, good materials for the construction process is very critical. Likewise, the strategic location of capital city. Since that distance to capital city influences the provision of access to infrastructure, it is very important now that access to, in quotes, governance, because governance is democracy, democracy is governance, and governance is politics. So that means location of this capital city and SGS is very critical to access to infrastructure. It is suggested that as it will bring about increased improved government investment in social amenities in geographically isolated villages. This is very important. Thank you very much. Now we'll take time for our questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ayobani. Thank you for your presentation there. Now we will open this up to questions. If there anybody that have questions, I see none in the chat. If you would like to ask a question, if you'd like to do that, now is the time to ask a question to Ayobami so that he could address those. Are there no questions? Ayobami, it does not appear that there are any questions for us here, and we would like to thank you. I would like to thank you for your presentation and wish you well on moving forward with your research. Ladies and gentlemen, we would then move forward and have our next presenter, which is Samuel Mirayese, with the title Questioning City Livability and Sustainability Through Theoretical and Conceptual Spectrum. Samuel, as a co-host, if you could if you could share your screen with us so that we can have your presentation on board. Thank you. Samuel, are you with us? Can you hear us? Ayobami, can you close your screen so that Samuel can upload his?
I see Samuel has got kicked out.
It appears as if Samuel got kicked out. We'll give him a minute or so just to get back in. Someone is saying that they cannot share. It's a 2201-10996. Okay, we will bring you up as a co-host, and then you'll be able to share with us. Okay, thank you very much. We have Samuel on board. Or is this Samuel that will be doing the presentation? I think your mic is on mute. I cannot hear.
Good morning, everyone.
Thank you. Now we can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
You may proceed.
I was trying to put together my sound system. I needed to use two systems to get this to work because my desktop computer couldn't pick my voice. So I need to use a tablet as my voice and share the screen on my desktop. Well, my name is Medaishe Samuel. I'm presenting a part of my literature review in my PhD work. Actually, my PhD work is assessing the nexus of sustainable infrastructure development, urban livability, and inclusive physical development. So in this presentation, I'll be looking at the linkage, the conceptual linkage between sustainability and urban livability. Okay. Now, a brief background into my discussion. The subject of sustainable development, as typified in the Sustainable Development Goals, enumerated certain very critical factors which must be met in order for sustainability to be achieved. And critical among this factor is the issue of infrastructure. So infrastructure is a basic necessity for us to talk about sustainability and also livability. The transformation of infrastructure services represents a sine qua non condition for progressive structural change needed in any area. So for any area to be able to change, for any area to be able to be called a livable space, it must meet the condition of infrastructure and service delivery. Now the challenge across most cities here is the insufficient, inefficient, and unsustainable provision of these services, which often breeds poorly diversified production structure, innovation lag, high concentration of income, and vulnerability to climate change. This is according to ECLA 2016. The Sustainable Development Agenda is a combination of focal points for sustainability and development of settlements. On the other hand, the Oxford Learners Dictionary refers to livable as fit to live in space. The term livability is an umbrella to a variety of meanings, which depends on both the object of measurement and the perspective of those making the measurement. This is according to Holdings in the year 2012. Now, looking at the issue of livability, researchers have agreed that livability refers to the environment from the perspective of the individual. So that means livability is more a subjective evaluation of the quality of a place. Livability is also defined as one of the aspects that could contribute to a high quality of living. That is Evans, Corley et al. 2009. This is because the high quality of living will affect citizens' lifestyle and health condition within the built environment. Major cities in the world have faced challenges in keeping the city safe and increase residents' health condition, economic stability, as well as providing excellent transportation system and network. All these are issues concerning livability. Now we begin to compare between livability and sustainability. Livability and sustainability of the built environment are discussed increasingly on a global scale. For example, the Center for Livable Cities in Singapore opined that livability can be viewed as cities through good planning, provides a vibrant, attractive, and secure environment for people to live, to work, and to play. It encompasses the following: good governance, competitive economy, high quality of living, environmental sustainability, and all the factors. The linkages, therefore, between livability and sustainability are about fourfold. Look, can you hear me? Yes. Okay, thank you. The linkages, therefore, are the interaction of four primary values. At the prison's heart lies the elusive, perhaps utopian, perfectly realized, sustainable, and livable urban area, as described by Freeman. Not only does the prism remind us that land use planning must deal with a three-dimensional spatial world, but it also offers a structure for dealing with value conflict inherent in different visions, which results gap on the linkages of the various aspects of the concept. The tensions between livability and sustainability, which here is seen in one of its components, which is economic growth, results in the growth management conflict, which arises from competing beliefs in the extent to which unmanaged development can affect the quality of the living environment. Now we begin to narrate the tenets of sustainable urban development and livability mix. First among these tenets is this: the concept of livability has emerged alongside sustainability as a buzzword. That's the way it's described in public discourse. That means people just throw the word livability, sustainability around without really looking at the implication in detail. Then, city competitions and awards for both livability and sustainability abound everywhere. So you hear ranking, livability ranking, sustainability ranking all across the world. The various development stakeholders have argued in favor of the concept of livability and the rights of individuals to livable spaces. Furthermore, this idea is most potent and more aggressively pursued in the context of city because these are spaces where majority of the people reside. They are engine room for economic activities and consumption, where human impact on the environment are highly intense. On the other hand, environmental impact on society are most significant with respect to population density and economic assets at risk. Planners and policymakers concerned with creating or maintaining livable cities have long invoked livability as a guiding principle for the investment and decision-making that shape urban social, economic, physical, and biological environment. Their proposition for the creation of livability presumes that livability can be analyzed by fundamental or immutable characteristics, many of which remain constant through time and across population. Several of these discussions can be presented. These are considered the first principles of livability. The notion of a livable city in the sense of fit to live in or inhabitable requires two elements to remain in agreement with each other. One of these concerns the attributes of the population that demand goods and services, such as shelter, energy, water, food, waste management and assimilation, health and public safety, education, entertainment, transport, and several other infrastructure. All of these are aimed at ensuring a livable space for man. In short, from this vantage point, livability is adjudged through the lens of needs and wants of city inhabitants. And since these needs and wants are most apparent in areas and times of deteriorating infrastructure, declining economic prosperity, and a rising social disconnect, much attention has historically been given to those places where the provision of services has been inadequate. This is a major reason why the city continue to suffer increase in population. The second element of livability comprises the city's environment as defined by the physical and biological characteristics, the built infrastructure and ecosystems that provide goods and services on which lives and livelihood in the city depends. At a minimum, these ecosystem services stem from the green spaces and water bodies in and around cities that generate not only amenities and the economic value, but also provide valuable contributions. Examples amongst which include local climate vegetation regulation, air quality, and flood control. Although it is conceivable that high levels of livability can be experienced temporarily while undermining ecosystem structure and function, over the long haul, livability is intricately tied to environmental sustainability. The biophysical environment thus establishes the boundary constraints that affect the ability of urban population to thrive, yet those constraints themselves are shaped in complex ways by the pressure that urban population and urban growth exert on infrastructure and ecosystem. It is therefore expedient, therefore, is a need to give priority attention to urban livability as a discourse that shapes development and planning activities by planners. Urban livability provides an opening to discuss not just planning and city building, but the fundamental ability of different kinds of people to live in urban areas and their rights to the city. For not just the homeless, but the working class, the middle class, and the affluent, for people of color, for immigrants, for women, and other vulnerable groups. This opening enables interrogation of ability and the people who require safety and protection within the city. It is this point that hence gave credence to the third leg of development concept, which is inclusiveness. A view of the city space that is highly livable can create a sense of those that can live and how they can live in it. I think I want to move further and look at the potentials of sustainable urban development and urban livability. A category of further organization for reorganizing the links between livability and sustainability is the ability to allow change through interventions. The strong local component of housing arises when possibility of allowing change through planning policy and registers begins by classifying people according to the communities in which they are located. And the cost of living, the reintroduction of contemporary housing in urban planning discourse creates an opportunity to improve the political importance and acceptance because of the ability to live divided by success. In contrast to broad environmental visions, the application of housing preferences, such as neighborhoods that one can walk in, or in safe public spaces, is located within local agencies and planners that can shape the environment. Furthermore, looking at the tension between sustainability and urban livability, both concepts are common. They are common concepts of urban planning and public discourse in general, primarily because the values, priorities, and behaviors of many individuals and institutions. Consumers should be entitled to livable and sustainable communities that raise questions for planners and decision makers about how to meet the needs and desires of present and the future. All this constitutes part of the linkages between sustainability and urban livability. Now in this chart, I have a linkage that talks about the various indicators of sustainability, livability, and the inclusiveness. These indicators all have a point of convergence for these three concepts. And this point of convergence for these three is what I term as the consumption pattern of resources within the city, accessibility of the different interest groups within the city, then equity and justice for various elements of the city. For a city to be considered to be sustainable, inclusive, and livable, it must meet these three indicator criteria. In conclusion, as urbanization and globalization leads to ever more diverse population in cities, their living conditions more rapidly shaped by the emergence of new technologies and new environment changes, and their needs and wants and aspirations evolve, it is becoming increasingly challenging to provide generally acceptable and applicable definitions of urban livability and urban sustainable development within the ambit of responsible consumption. Without a clear understanding of the basic elements that define the concept, their use in planning and policy making is becoming increasingly curtailed. In narrating the tenets of sustainable urban development and livability mix, one of these concerns the characteristics of the population that demands these goods and services, such as shelter, energy, water, food, transportation, and several others. Livability is adjudged through the lens of needs and wants of those who do or may live in the city. The second element of livability comprises the city's environment as defined by its physical and biological characteristics. At a minimum, these ecosystem services stem from the green spaces and water bodies in and around cities that generate not only amenities and the economy. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Samuel, for your presentation. You have. Are there any questions to Samuel on the livability and sustainability through theoretical and conceptual spectrum? I see nothing in the chat. Anyone that has a hand that they would like to raise or ask a question to Samuel? I noticed no one there. Samuel, I'd like to thank you. As Prof said earlier, we cannot give a hand here, but we'd like to thank you for your presentation on enlightening us on sustainability through the theoretical and conceptual spectrum. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we would then call on Timothy, who I see is in the venue, and call on Timothy to upload his presentation, The Fourth Industrial Revolution and the Construction Industry, the role of data sharing and assemblage. Thank you. If you could, Timothy, if you could upload for us.
I've uploaded. I believe everyone can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, Timothy.
Oh, all right. Thank you. Good.
Timothy, are you with us? I think we have lost you. Timothy, are you with me? Can you? I think Timothy might have been kicked out. Let us just give it a couple of moments to allow Timothy back into the room.
What about
Kahilo, I see you are here. Would you be able to, I see that Timothy has been kicked out. Would you be able to advise whether you would be able to take that over, or will we give Timothy a couple of moments more to come back in? Right, guys. I think that in light of Timothy being kicked out, Linda, I'm not sure whether you are ready to present to us, and we will allow Timothy back back to present once you have done your presentation. Linda?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Linda.
Okay.
Would you like to upload whilst we wait on Timothy to come back into the room so that you can complete and then he can then do his presentation following you?
Anyone, if I'm asked to present, I'll present. If I'm asked to wait, I'll wait.
Okay, no, Linda, if you could present. I do not see Timothy back in the room as yet. So you are welcome to upload and then present to us.
Okay.
Thank you, Linda.
Hello, can you hear me?
Thank you, Linda. You may proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Linda Chinwendombadega, and my topic, the title of my paper is The Need to Improve Current Waste Management Practices in the Area of Construction Waste Reduction. There is an increased demand on construction projects, and this increased demand on construction projects has negatively impacted on the environment through excess resource use and waste deposition. Measurable efforts have been made to effectively manage these wastes, but the persistence of waste generation is an indication that those measures are inefficient in controlling and handling waste from construction industry. This presents the need to further evaluate the existing measures in order to target a higher level of outcome. To form a baseline for studies that can explore possibilities for improvements towards absolute prevention of waste in construction industry, this paper serves as a starting point. It serves as a starting point for the implementation of waste prevention in construction industry. So the purpose for the paper is to appraise the need to improve current waste management practices in the area of waste reduction to target waste prevention. The objectives include the evaluation of the existing waste management and reduction practices and exploration of improvement possibilities. This issue highlights the need for waste management measures to be made to target strictly no waste generation. If not fully attained, it could go a long way in achieving a better result. And this also is to promote the possibility of using waste prevention as the main proactive measure in achieving, in reducing, in affecting waste generation. The paper, the methodology used is literature, is a review paper, and the type used is an integrative review method. The method used for sourcing is systematic, and the method used for the searching, the processes that are used are word search, co-occurrence search, variations. The method used for the analysis is content, and the interpretation of the results, I used thematic form. For the literature, the format, the flow goes from waste in construction industry to waste management measures, to waste reduction practices and their advancements, then the need for improvement and proposal. Waste in the construction industry is seen as excess. Waste in the construction industry is seen as the excess materials generated from construction activities, which the volume and the impact on the environment provided an unavoidable need to implement waste management measures. And these waste management measures are ways to collect, control, and treat and handle waste using best practices. So from the literature highlights, disposal method has been the most practiced, but considering the environmental impact of the disposal method, there was a shift to waste diversion methods, and those waste diversion methods are contained in the waste hierarchy, which are conversion technologies, recycling, reuse, and reduce method. In as much as recycling for the waste diversion method and disposal method are the most practiced in the waste hierarchy, the most preferred is reduction method based on the level of impact on the environment. This waste reduction method, sometimes regarded as waste minimization method, considers source as in waste, construction waste, to be addressed through the core source of its generation. So by addressing it from the cause of its generation, source of generation, the design will be affected, altered, the production, the use of products, all of them will be altered in order to achieve waste reduction. Also, the activities and processes that generate those wastes can also be avoided if they are considered from the sources. A major breakthrough in the waste reduction method is the association of waste generation to design. And this identified design as the key factor of waste generation through poor designs and decision. This led to the development of some methods which are used to address waste reduction. These are some information technology. Some of them are IBM, big data. Some are in the form of processes like life cycle assessment, integrated project delivery, lean. Some are design principles, which are design strategies and designing as waste strategies. Despite the fact that all these processes exist, they are still inefficient in addressing waste issues. And because of that, waste generation has really persisted and has become an issue, which has not only affected the human health, it has also affected the rate of achieving long-term sustainability, which is the watchword of today. So from that, there is the need to improve waste management practices to consider prevention, in the sense that the actions can be implemented before waste is generated. So looking at the case to improve the level of waste management, although the preferred reduction method considers design methods in affecting waste, there is a traditional view in the industry which has it that waste is unavoidable and waste are environmentally unfriendly products, and they are also potential economic resources. These views influence the waste management actions to act as reactive measures to issues as they manifest. It also has hampered limited the effect of the developed reduction method, which are meant to target source elimination of waste. So apart from that, though waste reduction made a major breakthrough in associating waste to design practices, the methods developed are still not enough to handle waste, in the sense that the developed method only targets reduction in the quantity of physical waste generated. And as such, it has not actually prevented the occurrence of waste. Again, the limitation of the source reduction strategy to just reduction measures makes the practice to achieve only minimization. And not only does it achieve only minimization, it has made it not to have the room, the capacity to contain the concepts to achieve the required effectiveness. And it has also limited the required techniques that can be used in exploiting the benefits with them in the methods. Then finally, in the need to improve it, there is requirement for optimal achievement, which can be said to affect the behavior, the mindset of the stakeholders, because when the stakeholders have the mindset that waste cannot be prevented, whatever, they can go ahead to generate the waste, but there is need for them to look at it as something that can be avoided, and thereby it will cause them to have a proactive and systematic measure that will be targeted at preventing the waste. And this will enable them to consider the waste factors early enough before project development. So with that, this paper is proposing the implementation of waste reduction in the construction industry. Waste reduction is not just about waste, it also helps in building the value chains. So waste reduction considers strict avoidance of waste, it considers source reduction, it considers reuse and extension of lifespan. All these are implemented during the design stage. And when they are done, they act as proactive measures in affecting waste early before they occur. So construction industry really have not considered waste prevention as a major practice because of their mindset. So using this as a starting point, this philosophy of waste, upgrading to waste prevention will help them have the philosophy of considering wastefulness as an illegitimate and inefficient operation. They will have the need to have thoughtful consideration of downstream and upstream operations before commencement of projects, and it will help them to have innovative room to have innovative forms of avoiding waste. So from the literature, extant literature done, the results indicate that yes, improvements have been made, but there are two major influences. The first one influence is as a result of the regulation of waste as unavoidable. That has influenced the strategies developed, the actions, the way they put in their actions. Instead of proactive, it acts as reactive, and they hamper the effects of the developed practices. And another view is the perception of waste prevention as unattainable affects the ability of the philosophy to accommodate the needed actions that can help achieve the waste prevention. So there are opportunities, and these opportunities are to aim at best practices that can affect the process, practice, performance of projects during the design stage. They can adopt relevant ideas from other waste streams that have already started implementing waste prevention. They can focus the waste prevention by seeing wastefulness as illegitimate practice, and they can aim at proactive, innovative, and collaborative measures to help them with the careful consideration of production process and the use of product. So in that case, I would say that there is need for the construction industry to focus on the prevention of construction waste in order to achieve a much higher level of performance. Because when you settle for the little, then you will achieve nothing. But when you settle for more, then it means that you will achieve a greater result. Then there is a need for a formal conceptual framework to explore this proposal for the industry. Since they are yet to consider it, there is a need to have a conceptual framework for a startup, and there is the need to improve the efficiency of practices at the design stage of every project. So based on that, the further studies, there will be a need to have the development and application frameworks for achieving waste prevention. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, Linda, on waste management. And I now open the floor to questions from the panel, from people in the room. Any questions? I see none in the chat section. No questions from anyone? I take it there aren't any questions, and in that case, I'd like to thank you, Linda, for your presentation, and wish you well in your further studies with your PhD and Dr. Shakantu. I'd now like to call on Timothy to please upload. Timothy, you are in the room with us.
Yeah.
Yes, Timothy, if you can upload, you can share your screen with us, and so we can take that.
Linda is still sharing. Okay.
Okay, Timothy, you can share your screen with us. Thank you. And all over, the floor is yours. All over to you, Timothy.
Sorry for the previous technical glitch. It was from my side. I really want to apologize for that. Yeah, I'm presenting a paper titled The Fourth Industrial Revolution and the Construction Industry, the Role of Data Sharing and Assemblage. Please, can everyone hear me, please? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you. I'm presenting a paper titled The Fourth Industrial Revolution and the Construction Industry, the Role of Data Sharing and Assemblage. It is a co-authored work with Professor Kailu Kajimo Shakantu from the University of Free State. The increasing need for technological advancements has propelled the need for data sharing and assemblage in the construction industry, apparently because of the digital shift in technology and innovative technology, which is termed the fourth industrial revolution. We are witnessing rapid technological changes, and these has unlocked markets, facilitated rapid industrialization across economies. It has transformed industrial operations and significantly influenced business models and interaction. And once these trends begin to evolve, the construction industry cannot be left behind. Thus, given the increasing influence of automation and digital process across other sectors, stakeholders in the construction industry need to prepare proactively for the attendance interferences that comes with these trends. The technological revolutions will significantly impact on the mode of project design, construction, operation, and other activities in the construction industry. However, as we are aware that most of these technological innovations, they need data across different stakeholder platform to operate. So the issue of data sets becomes germane in terms of interoperability and even availability of the data across different stakeholder platforms, so that such data could be harnessed across different platforms to achieve the desire in the construction industry. Thus, if there is to be an increased uptake of these innovative technologies, the need and the use of data by construction stakeholders becomes germane. This underscores the need for data sharing and assemblage in the construction industry. The aim of the study is to examine the role of data sharing and assemblage in the construction industry through the lens of the technological shifts triggered by the fourth industrial revolution. Based on a desktop review of past studies, the study assessed: 1, the role of data sharing in the construction industry and the fourth industrial revolution, the challenges to data sharing and assemblage, and the benefits of data sharing and assemblage in the construction industry. Under the literature review, the first section we'll be looking at is the role of data sharing, the role of data in the construction industry and the fourth industrial revolution. External studies have noted that technological innovations associated with the fourth industrial revolution, we open up new levels of data sharing in the construction industry because of the need for interoperability and sharing of data even across different platforms. We are talking of issue of blockchain technologies, BIM, and other platforms as such. So it's going to be opening up a new level of data sharing in the construction industry. This will lead to the use of integrated contracts, development of open standards for data sharing, accessibility on data as regards design, cost, schedules, amongst others. And we also know that the construction industry is not complete without the role of the financiers, the investors. And investors often regard the lack of data as a major risk factor. Data on previous projects, previous issues on projects, which such that this can be used to like a foresight or to be able to project future happenings as it relates to the current project. The integration of data technologies into construction activities and processes presupposes the availability and exchange of data on cost, design, sustainability, and so on among project stakeholders. Thus, to fully integrate into the derivable benefits associated with digitalization and automation of systems in the construction industry, data sharing must be encouraged among professionals in the construction industry. Data serves as an important decision support tool for firms, individual consultants, and stakeholders in providing value-added services to the client. Given the increasing client sophistication and desire for high investment return, data sharing and assemblage are a focal point across industries, and the construction industry is not left out. The challenges to data sharing are numerous, but based on external studies, we've examined a few. One of the challenges involve perception about the loss of competitive advantage over other firms. Most times, large size industry want to maintain the dominance they have in the market. So this really invites the level of data sharing and openness, even amidst industry, even within the industry, because of the competitive advantage that such gives to them. Then the second is fear about diverging classified data to competitors. Just it's still in tandem with the first point, so that the advantage that such will give will not be eroded. The third is lack of sufficient motivation and incentives and drive for personal benefits. Individuals who have taken time to gather data will want to maintain the personal benefit, or perhaps there are no sufficient motivation from the part of the industry stakeholders, the government, or professional body towards encouraging individuals or industries, sectors within the industry to make data available. Then the level of personal or firm level benefits also serve as a challenge to data sharing. Then the influence of organizational behavior and inclination. If you have an organization that is pro data sharing, apparently workers and employees in such firm will also be interested in sharing data, making data available at least across firm level and interoperable data as well. And gradually we could begin to have a different perception about data sharing in the construction industry. Then we'll talk of the complexity of the supply chain structure, stemming from the multiplicity of subcontractors, contractors, suppliers, and consultants. Apparently, sometimes this affects the level of interoperability between the stakeholders because of the complexity in the supply chain. Then we have inconsistent and standardized method of data assemblage during project execution. Sometimes some data are not standardized in terms of the collation, the measuring tools, the frequency, even the time, the variation in times, and all these other data may not be aggregated across a standardized base. This limits the usage to which the other users could adopt such data. So these are the challenges to data. Amidst other challenges, these are some of the challenges to data sharing. The benefit of data sharing are numerous across extant studies. We just look at a few of them. Data serves as a strategic tool to stakeholders in minimizing costs and reduce investment risk. I think that has been reiterated earlier on. It is a strategic tool in minimizing costs. Apparently, we could make use of previous information to be able to forecast, to predict what the current project or the current development could cost, or in terms of risk reduction and the likes. Secondly, data sharing and assembly enables stakeholders to assess the project cost implication and benchmark expected and actual cost. Data sharing as well will impact on how projects and assets are managed, while also enhancing optimal solution and improved productivity. It will also enhance stakeholders' confidence. Stakeholders' confidence will be boosted because apparently they understand that there is a database from which decisions are being made, from which benchmarking is being done. So the advice being given by the development advisors are based on availability of robust and rich data. The next point is provision of benchmarks and enhanced accuracy of estimates and cost prediction. This relates to the earlier points raised. The ability to compare organizational efficiency to international benchmark and inadequacies being detected and resolved promptly. It also assists in detecting and solving complications during the project lifecycle, during development, or even afterwards, during the life cycle of the project, during operational phase. Challenges could easily be measured and benchmarked and mitigated based on availability of data within various stakeholder platforms. Other advantages include improved market intelligence, enhanced business and investment activity, improved processes, cost reduction and cost activity. Data enhances stakeholders' capacity in terms of problem identification, preferring solutions, and prompt decision making. It also helps to prevent stakeholders from reinventing the wheels, and it also enhances the cost of learning, the chances of learning from previous error. The following recommendations are being made by the study. Some initiatives that could be considered towards increasing the data sharing and assembling practices in the construction industries include building up appropriate internal competencies, such as encouraging stakeholders to share data, stakeholder enlightenment about the benefit of data sharing and assemblage, and the promoting of partnership among stakeholders in the industry. So apparently, large firms should not see themselves as they have it all. The small firms or emerging firms too, the SMEs too, could have some advantages that could be derivable from such practices. Second, an understanding of stakeholder perception and challenges about data sharing will assist in improving solutions to data sharing debacle. If stakeholders understand the benefits, the global benefits, the benefit to the industry, apparently the construction industry is lagging behind in terms of adoption of innovative technologies. The issue of data is traceable to such factors making the construction industry lag behind. So if you understand the global benefit, the benefit to the industry, then our perception could be changed, and gradually we begin to have a better direction towards data sharing and assemblage in the construction industry. Then ensuring that construction data are compiled in consistent and interoperable manner. Most times the data may not be easily accessible across different platforms because of the mode or the format in which such data are being collated. However, if they are being interoperable and they are measured against standard benchmarks, collated against standard benchmarks, it will be interoperable across different platforms, and each stakeholders will understand the benefit and will gain the benefit of data sharing as well. In conclusion, given the increasing global technological changes stemming the fourth industrial revolution and other drivers necessitating the need for increased data sharing and assemblage in the construction industry, there is the need to ensure an increasing interest of construction stakeholders towards data sharing and assemblage. Stakeholders must prioritize integrating and analyzing data sets in order to leverage on the advantages of the fourth industrial revolution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Timothy, for your presentation on the fourth industrial revolution in the construction industry. Are there any questions for Timothy on his presentation? There are no questions for him. Then, Timothy, I'd like to thank you, and I'd just like to advise the panel that we would be breaking for lunch now, and we would be coming back, returning at 13:15. And please, you need to leave the room that you are in. If you would like to get into the other room, but you'll have to leave the room and then link up again to get into whichever room of presentation you'd like to get into. Guys, enjoy the break, and we will chat to you at 13:15. Thank you.
Performance matrices. So in terms of our objectives, what we looked at was to look at the internal arrangement of the department. And in that case, we looked at the expenditure patterns. We looked at the strategic alignment and the ability to impact on the GDP. We looked at expenditure of contractors on the ground and whether they're buying assets and then how they're investing money into projects. And we also looked at their performance as well as a predictor of economic growth or performance. And on the negative side, we looked at the errors that actually affect growth that have to be taken care of. So looking at the theoretical perspectives, economic growth or economy per se is measured in terms of GDP over a period. And the GDP elements are relating to consumption of goods and services, investment in capital assets, whether it's households or firms, government expenditure itself, and that government expenditure obviously excludes the social expenditure relating to, for example, grants, and then the servicing of interest or debt. So that is the essence of the GDP formula, and every element of the GDP, the question needs to be asked, how do players affect each element of the GDP in terms of their performance, whether in projects or decisions that they're making in terms of institutions or in relation to transfer of money. So if we bring that in context in relation to the theoretical foundation, it is understood that for government expenditure to have an impact, that budget approvals must be timeless, the decisions must be efficient, and also that transfer of money to agents must be quickly so that money can be moved into the circular flow of the economy. Capacity utilization is also another important issue in relation to having the right number of people within the institutions and ensuring that they optimize their productivity in terms of delivery against the high salary bill that the government has. And of course, contractor performance on the ground is crucial in terms of economic development. And that if contractors are paid on time for the value that they have generated, that will get the economy into a very high spiral or into an effective drive. With government spending money and then creating that conducive environment, private sector or even contractors on the ground will invest in plant and equipment. There will be optimism even from the manufacturers, such as people that are manufacturing aggregates and product markets, such as cement manufacturers and steel, in terms of investing in more capacity, if they have a belief that there will be even more growth and investment into the sector itself. If production capacity is actually increased, banks will also be willing to lend contractors money, and of course even manufacturers in terms of buying assets. And that in itself will get the economy into a spiral as indicated with the model on the ground, so on the right. Now, in relation to consumption, if the economy is on the rise where companies are manufacturing and they're pushing production, there'll be a need for more people to be employed, either contractors and manufacturers. And if more people are being employed and spending money, consumption will be on the increase, and that will be a plus to the economy itself. If you have high consumption, it will mean that more products will be pulled by ordinary citizens that are employed in construction companies or in manufacturing companies. And as those products are being pulled, more and more production capacity will be increased by the manufacturers. And as they increase more, they will need more people to fill in and become employees. And as more people are being brought into the fray, they'll spend more money. And in spending more money, they'll create even more demand, or rather even more consumption of goods and services. So that's the essence of the simple basic formula of the GDP from a positive side of things. On the negative side, fraud and corruption, crime on its own, those are one of the things, some of the things that actually pull a handbrake in terms of the impact of the economy. The hidden transaction costs as well are also disenablers of economic growth. Bureaucracy, I cannot overemphasize on bureaucracy, and even little things as bad timing of the SCM processes. For example, where contractors are employed or engaged during the times where the rainy season starts and they lose more of productive time that they could be putting in terms of turning bricks and mortar on the ground. The lack of government spending in terms of infrastructure or whatever other expenditure will discourage private sector to invest and lose business confidence. And if people are employed on short-term contracts and then earning low salaries and wages, consumption will be low. And of course, if there's high consumption of imports, that also has a very negative impact on the economy. So these are the elements that actually pull a handbrake on the economy, as I explained. From our research design, we take a philosophy of pragmatism, and what we looked at was a mixed methodology in terms of methodological choice. And in terms of data collection, we looked at using interviews and source secondary data from the Department of Education. And From that, we did content analysis, and then we also use descriptive statistics. So from a pragmatism point of view, what we're trying to look at is to seek solutions for the future, which is the essence of this study. And we hope that in seeking solutions is part of driving the agenda of transformation. So from the sampling point of view, we used purposes sampling, just focusing on contractors that are working in the KZN Department of Education programs between grade 6 and grade 8, because those were the largely people that were doing massive work that actually have a bearing on economic development. Now from the 45, 33 agreed to participate, and then the response rate was 73% essentially.
You have 2 minutes, Simon.
Okay. And looking at the results, 2.4 billion budget, only 2 billion was spent as at the end of Feb, which actually was 83%. So you'll note that there wasn't a serious potential of money being put into the economic circular flow. Internal plans were not aligned to GDP elements. And of course, in terms of staff competency, while the department had enough staff resources internally, capacity utilization was very low. In relation to payments to contractors, on average, contractors were paid on 45 days. And of course, there's a high percentage of those that actually say that they don't complete projects on time, and also those that are saying rent seeking is a problem in terms of cash flows. So information delays from consultants was one of the areas that are of concern, and which on the positive side, obviously people were employed over 10 months, and then there was expenditure on food and transport, which are positive contributors to the economy. And if I can conclude, the evidence is that the department does not have the potential to impact on economic growth due to the bureaucracy internally, poor performance of agents and consultants, late payment of contractors, and low efficiency on project completion. And in recommendations, we looked at mainstreaming economic growth principles and measures into departmental strategies, attending to the issue of rent seeking or fraud and corruption, and again, looking at increasing the capacity of the department internally and ensuring that capacity utilization is increased within the department, and thereby gaining advantage of economic growth. And that's the essence of the summary of our study.
Thank you very much, Simon. Well timed. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? In fact, it's quite interesting because what you're saying in terms of your findings was very similar to what one of the officers of the president was saying about how, you know, these are typical types of issues that they're finding. So thank you for that. Are there any questions for Simon? You just put your hand up and then I'm watching the participants. There are no questions. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Simon. Are you leaving us now?
Yeah, I'll be leaving in the next 10 minutes.
Okay, that's fine then. All right. Okay, so can we stop the screen share then, please? You have to stop sharing. So we can then get the next speaker up.
So let me just try to get it right. Oh my God.
Perhaps Edwin, if you can help us.
Just a minute.
Okay, I'm going to just do that.
Can you do it from your side? Thank you.
Okay. But I think that I'm going to have some help now. All right. Okay. So, Edwin, are you around? No, he's obviously not. Okay. is our next speaker. I'm not sure, is it Simpiwe? See you here? You've been made co-host, yes, all right. So Simpiwe, you doing the next presentation? Would you like to unmute yourself, please? Well, I'm going to unmute you.
Hi, Chair. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Audible.
Welcome, Simpiwe.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Perfect. I'm trying to share my screen now. I'm not sure if you can see it from your side.
Not yet.
Is it? Okay. Is it uploaded now?
There we go. Okay, it's fine.
Is it fine now?
Yes. Okay. So
Okay.
do you just want to start your PowerPoint presentation into presentation mode, please?
Okay.
Great. All right.
So
you've got 15 minutes. I will give you a warning in about 2 minutes. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm having a bit of internet connectivity, but can you please bear with me in this regard?
Sure, no problem.
Okay. All right. The title of the study is The Challenges of Implementing Sustainable Facilities Management in Higher Institutions of Learning. The outline of my presentation will be as follows. To be the background introduction, the methodology, the results and discussion, and the conclusion. According to Mora and others, 2011, the built environment activities have indicated the impact of building operations in the decay of the natural environment. Chang, 2008, and others, they argue that the built environment accounts for 1/3 of the total energy use, 40% of materials, and produces approximately 40 to 50% of greenhouse gas emissions globally. Kalamba 2016 and others, they further argue that the buildings have an impact on climate change, and roughly 80% of this negative impact comes from the operation phase, which is post-contract or post-construction, as most of you may know it. Al-Shuwakat and Abubakar 2008, they state that the high institutions of learning are considered as small cities due to their large scope, the population sizes, the numerous campus activities, which have overall significant impacts on the natural environment. This is in line with Hashim's argument that the institutions of learning consists of various infrastructure assets. They manage large buildings and other assets such as ICT, and consume and generate large amounts of energy and waste due to their population sizes. So given their role as the agents of change in society, the high institutions of learning have been challenged to take up their leading role in promoting and implementing sustainable development or sustainability in their campus operations. These institutions have responded positively to the call, and this is evident by the signing of the Terrorist Declaration, which is a declaration or a commitment that they made to implement or adopt and implement sustainable development practices in their systems through either teaching and learning, research, overall campus activities, and also the big one, which is to become sustainability leaders in society. The authors, they further argue that there is a lack of a more systematic and sustainable approach to reduce the adverse environmental impacts of the university campus. And therefore, the management of facilities have been identified as a department through which sustainability can be integrated and implemented in order to minimize the adverse environmental impacts and address societal and economic issues in these institutions. Facilities managers have the potential to drive and implement sustainability initiatives in their organizations. And according to Nelson and others, 2016, they state that the climate change and natural resources are societal challenges for which the facilities management professionals can aid in providing solutions in various organizational or societal levels. So according to HACCP 2014, these institutions in developing countries are lagging in terms of adopting and implementing sustainability initiatives. And they also have like very poor performance levels in terms of their sustainable facilities management practice. However, regardless of the stated importance of the role of facilities managers in driving the sustainability agenda in the institutions, there is a lack of studies exploring the existence of this role in these institutions, especially in developing countries. More importantly, there is a scarcity of studies investigating the possible barriers or inhibitors of sustainable facilities management in higher institutions of learning. The key extent literature relevant to the study has been studied by HACCP in 2014, whereby he used Australia as a context for developed countries and Malaysia as a context for developing countries. In his study, he compared the two in terms of their status of sustainable facilities management in the higher institutions of learning departments. Thus, an organized theoretical basis for empirical studies is also limited in the extant literature. Hence, the aim of the study, which therefore seeks to examine the barriers of successful implementation of sustainable facilities management in these institutions from a theoretical perspective at this stage. The aim of the study will be achieved through an integrative literature review, whereby the various studies pertaining to the subject matter will be integrated, and the conclusion will therefore be drawn from the integration and comparison. The databases used were Scopus, Science Direct, Emerald, Google Scholar, ResearchGate, just to name a few. And the keywords were sustainability, FM, sustainable facilities management, high institutions of learning, and the barriers to sustainable facilities management practice. So these were the keywords that were used in our search. Frequency analysis was used in analyzing the data, and the rate of occurrence of the number of barriers were used as a measure and drawing the conclusion on the most significant barriers. For the purpose of time, I'll quickly just mention relevant concepts that were undertaken in the study in coming to the main concept, which is the barriers to sustainable facilities management practice implementation. The key relevant concepts in the study were sustainability, sustainable development, sustainable facilities management, the need for this practice in these institutions, and therefore subsequently the barriers. There seems to be a confusion, or rather misinterpretation of sustainability and sustainable development, in a sense that these concepts are mostly used interchangeably. HACCP 2014 argues that sustainability is an objective to a quality of life, and sustainable development is a process towards achieving sustainability. So most people tend to misinterpret or use these terms interchangeably, and hence the confusion. The integration of sustainability into the facilities management practice is not a new concept. And globally, it has been observed that the business world has also seen the impact that sustainability adds on the competitive edge of the overall FM market. The extension towards sustainable built environment has driven sustainable facilities managers to adopt and implement sustainable initiatives into their practice. However, given their significant role in providing sustainable built environment, the facilities managers are faced with various barriers in terms of implementing sustainable initiatives into their practice or various organizations, which therefore leads to the main concept, which is the main barriers that these professionals encounter in implementing or driving the sustainability agenda into their various organizations, particularly in institutions of learning. From the categorization and thematic analysis of the selected literature, we developed the table on the screen, which indicates the main barriers as identified through the literature search. The main barrier identified was knowledge. Knowledge came out to be the most significant barrier according to the frequency analysis, followed by senior management commitment, finance or budget, capability or capacity, and lastly, time. The lack of knowledge has been identified as the main significant barrier in that if hello? Hi, check. Am I audible? I think there's a connection. Hello?
Yes, you're good to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can continue.
I had some glitches. Apologies for that. As I've said, lack of knowledge has been identified as one of the most significant barriers in terms of implementing sustainable facilities management in institutions of learning. Without the necessary skill sets and competencies of sustainability, the facilities managers will not be able to thrive and deliver these initiatives, such as green building, sustainable procurement, and other various responsibilities. The lack of knowledge directly influences the commitment of senior management with regards to adopting and implementing sustainability initiatives in their respective organizations. For example, when the senior management is knowledgeable about sustainability principles, they will use their authorities to influence and drive the sustainability agenda within the organizations. Therefore, they will prioritize budget, increase resources, and so on. The lack of knowledge has also been identified as one of the significant barriers, and it plays a vital role in terms of driving the whole sustainability agenda and giving the direction for the organization. Therefore, their willingness or unwillingness to commit to sustainability agenda will determine the position the organization might take in this regard. And therefore, if the managers are committed to the sustainability agenda, the organization will obviously have various initiatives implemented in their practice. And if they're not committed, the opposite will happen. Time and financial constraint were also identified as the main barriers. And obviously with regards to the implementation of sustainable facilities managers practice, time might be a factor due to the organization's priority, since facilities managers provide an environment that will enable organizations to achieve their primary objectives. Therefore, their deliverables are based on the objectives, the organization's objectives and their order of priority. Therefore, if organizations do not prioritize sustainability practices in the operations, the managers will not have time to drive and deliver these initiatives. The same applies to finance. If the organization does not prioritize sustainability practices within their operations, there will be insufficient funds available to implement these initiatives. And budget will also be limited as well. And also due to the costs associated with going green, most organizations tend to be reluctant in terms of adopting and implementing sustainability initiatives. Lastly, lack of capacity or capability has also been identified as the least.
Simpiwe, 1 minute. Huh?
1 minute. Okay, let me just quickly wrap up then. In conclusion, the study investigated the barriers to adopting and implementing sustainable facility managers in high institutions of learning. The research gap was identified through the review of literature on the current status of this practice in these institutions. And the findings suggest that the most highlighted barriers were the ones stated, which is knowledge, senior management commitment, time and financial constraints, and capacity. However, extant literature is still limited in terms of empirical strength, scope, and coverage, especially in relation to the developing countries context. Therefore, the implication of the current study is to further investigate empirically these barriers, mostly in the context of developing countries and using South Africa as a context. The study is still ongoing, and as such, this paper presents the preliminary findings from a theoretical perspective and will be further explored through empirical studies. Thank you.
Oops. Thank you very much, Simpiwe. That was bang on time. Are there any questions for Simpiwe on their paper?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, yeah. Good presentation. Yeah, from CWP. I would like just want to ask a question. In terms of sustainable development for South Africa context, is there any work on ground so far on South Africa for sustainable development so far?
Yes, there is some work that has been done by, I think, Awusi, but he only focused on the critical success factors. So he didn't necessarily touch on the sustainable facility management barriers and drivers and the overall status in terms of the higher education departments. I'm not sure if that answers the question yet.
Okay, thank you.
So therefore, this study basically aims to basically add on the existing body of knowledge and also to, contribute in that regard.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You can lower your hand, please. Any other questions for Simpiwe? Okay. Simpiwe, you can stop sharing your screen, please. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for a very good paper. Right, is our next speaker ready? Who's presenting the next paper? Simpiwe, is it you again, or is it your? No, sorry, not you. It's either Simon or your partner, Simon. And Simon's gone. So who's presenting the next paper? I don't see either of those.
Hey, Claire.
Yeah.
It's Eddie here. I
Yes,
see
Eddie.
Simon just left. Simon was a host just a few seconds ago.
Yes, he was supposed to. I did ask him at the beginning of the session. He did say that his partner, I think is it okay, Baba Tunde?
Yes.
Going to do the presentation, but I don't see him in the.
I don't see either. Both of them are not here.
No. So perhaps what we must do then is do the
We
next
can go
paper.
to the next. We can go to the next, to Cameron, and
Yes,
then we can maybe come back to Simpiwe or to Simon when they come back.
Right. Cameron, are you ready to present?
Yeah.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes. Hello.
Let me just share my screen for you guys.
Please, yeah. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So Cameron is going to be discussing the lack of implementing building information modeling on the quantity surveying profession. So thank you very much, Cameron. You've got 15 minutes and then we will allow 5 minutes for questions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Cameron. Go ahead.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored today to present to you my honors treatise from last year, titled Lack of Implementation of Building Information Modeling in the Quantity Surveying Profession. Just with regards to my agenda, these are the main areas I'll be focusing on today. Because my research revolves heavily around technology, I thought it would be best to introduce my topic using this analogy. Just in case people are wondering, the boxes you can see on the screen are actually error messages, each having a specific message behind it. Let us start with the first one. Upgrade available, the construction industry. What is meant by this is that over the years, the construction industry has continued to be the slowest adopters of innovative technologies, notwithstanding the strong suggestions that these new technologies will provide competitive advantages through lowering costs as well as improved opportunities. It would appear that the South African construction industry is no different. Error message 101, unknown file type, BIM. Overall, BIM is still a foreign term in today's construction industry, with it gaining more attention in recent years. In South Africa especially, professionals are still lagging behind when it comes to implementing the software. A survey conducted by Harris in 2016 on various project stakeholders' views on BIM indicated that there's still a lack of understanding of the potential benefits and uses of the software in South Africa. Lastly, error message 102, file does not exist, QS and the BIM. However, in recent years, building information modeling has become a central topic amongst quantity surveyors because of its potential to revolutionize the profession. However, the numerous calls to embrace the change have thus far been overlooked. According to literature, quantity surveyors possess an inherent traditionalism when it comes to adopting BIM, as they prefer to follow current trends and methods rather than taking a proactive approach towards implementing the software. It is in this context that the purpose of my research is to determine the reasons why professional quantity surveyors are not utilizing BIM to improve day-to-day tasks and functions. As one can see on the screen, my research has been broken down into three main objectives. The first objective being to investigate the views of PQSs regarding current working methods for managing construction costs. Objective 2, to determine the views of each PQS and how they understand and feel about BIM potentially improving their situation within the construction industry. And the last one is to identify why PQSs are not utilizing BIM, as well as how awareness towards BIM implementation can be improved. Just to quickly run you through the methodology that I followed for my research. The research approach was inductive through qualitative research. The time horizon was cross-sectional. Research method was a mono method. The data collection method was through semi-structured interviews with the population of professional quantity surveyors in Port Elizabeth, my hometown. The sampling method was a self-selection sample through, as I sent out emails to each participant, and they responded with either yes or no in participation. Treatment of the data was also through thematic analysis, through generating themes to find answers. Moving on to the results. Research question 1. The main objective of the first research question was to look at the challenges of current working methods. The results showed that there still are a few challenges that still exist in current working methods of professional quantity surveyors. These include lack of information provided to the QS, time, education and training, as well as interlinking issues. With regards to the main one that you can see on the screen, the lack of information provided to the QS has made life far more difficult for them, as they now need to produce accurate and timely bills and cost forecasts with inadequate information. QSs also have to use their past experience and expertise to try to pick up what is missing from certain incomplete drawings, which takes up more of the crucial time given to them to perform and actually complete these financial documents. Research question number 2 deals with determining the viewpoints of each PQS on how they understand and feel about BIM, improving the current situation within the construction industry. Interviewees were first questioned about their understanding of BIM. The most popular answer was that BIM can be used as a collaborative tool that can be used to improve communication between project team members. Next, interviews were asked whether they think BIM will have an effect on the QS profession in any way. In answering this, quantity surveyors stressed the fact that BIM will not replace the QS. In matter of fact, QSs can use BIM to their advantage. Interviewees also mentioned possible benefits that BIM will provide for the QS. These are as follows: improved communication, greater speed, improved visualization, clash detection purposes, as well as the ability to automate quantities. As one can see on the screen from the top 2 answers, these 2 benefits can most certainly be linked to the challenges of current working methods, whereas communication and speed was seen as the few challenges of current working methods of professional quantity surveyors. This does indeed open up the conversation why BIM has not yet been recognized as a useful tool to help mitigate these challenges. Moving on to the challenges. This objective addressed the challenges of implementing BIM and how BIM awareness can be improved. Based on data collected from the interview processes, it was obvious that there still are several barriers holding the professional quantity surveyors back. QSs need to start looking to implement the software, but first of all, they're going to address these certain barriers. The most prominent barrier from the interview process was the lack of senior leadership support, with the interviewees mentioning that without support of senior staff and directors, the advancement of new technologies would be non-existent. Unfortunately, because of both internal and external pressures being put on more senior staff's shoulders, the time to sit down and explore these new technologies is also non-existent. Next, interviewees were asked about ways to improve implementation amongst quantity surveyors. The biggest appeal made by interviewees was to be able to see the benefits and results of others using the technology. Once they see someone benefiting from using BIM, only then will they start looking at implementing the software. Based on the results of each research question, a general conclusion can be formulated. The BIM revolution is well on its way in the construction industry, with it gaining more traction in recent years. However, in South Africa, and more so in my hometown of PE, professionals are still lagging behind when it comes to implementing new technologies such like BIM. The lack of desire to embrace the evolution in the quantity surveying profession may be down to the many challenges facing various professionals in the recession that the country is currently facing. However, there still is a persuasive argument to find more effective and more productive ways and solutions to see the profession advance, and also to help grow our economy to keep pace with other countries. And in order to advance the profession, they need to take a proactive approach towards implementing BIM. QSs need to use BIM to their advantage and also be the front runners when it comes to BIM implementation in South Africa. Finally, in order to get the wheel spinning around BIM, quantity surveyors need to start warming up towards the software, and they also need to start learning about it to see if it's worth implementing on certain projects. The construction industry is a very demanding industry, especially at present with the country's economy in ruins. QSs need to start looking for quicker and more efficient ways of doing things in order to meet client demands, who are extremely demanding. Once again, all project stakeholders and especially clients need to be made more aware of the software. The mentality of project stakeholders needs to change so that there can be a more holistic push for the software. There is no point just having the QS and the architect on board. The entire project team needs to be fully committed for it to be successfully adopted. And finally, with regards to BIM awareness, QSs should attend more BIM seminars and presentations, which should be set up by the council, the SAC QSP, in order for them to stay knowledgeable of how the software works and how inevitably they can get involved with it. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Cameron. I have a question, but let's just check and see if anybody else has got any questions for Cameron. Nothing at the moment. Okay, I've just got a question just about your methodology. What is your sample size for your study?
The sample size was 7 PQSs in Port Elizabeth. I did the methodology. It was done through semi-structured interviews.
Okay, and then which software did you use for the analysis?
The analysis was thematic analysis. It was just via Excel and just generating themes and of the discussions and picking up certain words and then relating it back to the theme.
Okay, it's just interesting because I know the university does have Atlas. So I was just wondering if you taught yourself to use Atlas TI for the analysis, because it's actually really good software.
Yeah, maybe for the next one, I'd say.
Good on you. All right. Are there any other questions for Cameron? Not. Okay. Cameron, thank you very much for your presentation. It was very interesting. And it's nice to see that there's a qualitative study going on in terms of this particular type of subject. You can stop sharing your screen now. Thank you. I just want to double check now.
Hey, Claire.
Yes, you're back.
Yeah, no, I am here.
Okay.
I just noticed that Simon is not back. We are trying to phone him to just find out what happened. I don't see, I'm not sure who's using the Hawaii phone Y6. I think either Simon's got kicked off, but I can't see Simon anyway.
Okay, because obviously, I mean, we've still got some time, but I mean, if he's not here, then we can't.
Yeah, I'll say we give it a few minutes.
Yeah.
Hi, Edwin.
Hello, Yolanda.
How are you? Yes. How are you?
I'm all good, thanks. And you?
I'm good, thanks. Dr. Babatunde had an emergency this afternoon and he asked me if I can step in.
Oh, okay. So you will be presenting?
Yes, on behalf of Dr. Babatunde.
Awesome. Okay. I am making you a co-host as we speak. Then you can just please share your slides, share your screen, and go into presentation mode. And then you should kick off. Thank you so much.
Okay, so Yolanda, you are actually presenting the paper for Simon and Dr. Babatunde, is that right? There we go.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Can you see my screen?
We can, yes. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the session.
Thank you.
And you may go ahead, but you've got 15 minutes. I will give you a 2-minute warning when we're about done, and then you've still got 5 minutes for questions. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yolanda, and I am Dr. Babatunde's master's student. He had an emergency this afternoon that he had to attend to, so he phoned me quickly and asked me if I could step in. I'll be presenting to you the research paper, Making Course Evaluation Exercise Count, a reprise. This paper was previously presented at Harvard University in 2019, but due to COVID-19 changing the way that teaching is done this year, the authors saw it fit that they will go back to the paper and reevaluate it and update it because learning has moved to online this year. The background to the study is that course evaluation exercises have been historically done, has historically been standardized, often due to quality assurance requirements from the Department of Higher Education. However, the action of this diverse stakeholders, such as the Department of Higher Education involved in the administration of higher education institution, hinge on the results of the evaluation exercise involving the lecturers and the students. As students and lecturers are co-constructors of knowledge, and that means that students learn from lecturers and lecturers both learn from students as well. Students' interest in the course evaluation exercises have declined over the years, and now students treat course evaluations as tick box culture. When students are asked why, they cited that lecturers are not interested in using the course evaluation, and they don't see the use and the need why they should fill in the course evaluation form. So they say that you don't use it, so why should I care? The research question to the study, the research problem to the study is that course evaluation helps to improve the quality of education through continuous improvement of lecturers to enhance student learning. However, the interest in course evaluation exercises has declined over the years, thus affecting the reliability of course evaluation. The research question is, how can educators make course evaluation exercises count? And course educators in this case include education managers, lecturers, education developers, and universities. The research aim to the study is to explore how a course evaluation exercise can be used to reinforce learning. The objective of the study was to assess the viability of reflective journaling as an alternative form of course evaluation exercise. And that is, at the end of each semester, lecturers give back to students a form of journal so that they can tell the lecturer what they have learned, what would they have liked to learn, and how have they changed on what has happened in that class for the semester. The conceptual framework that was used in the study was the research-informed teaching theory framework, and that is that lecturers teach based on the research that they've conducted. So that means that after they conduct course evaluation exercises, they go back, they analyze the results, and then they use that results to improve on their teaching. And the theoretical framework that was used in the study was the self-determination theory, which covers the cognitive evaluation theory, but it also differentiates between autonomous motivation and controlled motivation. Autonomous motivation in this case, it means that students are self-motivated to go to class because they perceive that there is a value in going to a certain class. And the controlled motivation in this case is that students are forced to go to a certain class based on, because lecturers force them by enforcing something such as attendance register or attendance mark allocated. For example, if you attend all the classes, you get 10% added to your final year mark. The methodology, the research onion was used in the study's methodology, and the pragmatism philosophy was followed. This was an abduction approach. Mixed methods was used where the survey included both open-ended and closed-ended questions, and this was a cross-sectional study. The data collection was conducted in that this was targeted population where 80 construction management and quantity surveying students registered for a core course construction project management course were purposefully sampled, and out of that 80, 71% responded. I should also mention that this study was conducted at one research intensive university in South Africa. And the quantitative questions included 10 motivations for learning, where students had to agree on a level of 1 to 5, Likert study, where they had to disagree or agree with the 10 motivations. And then for the qualitative data, students had to put a self-reflective journal where they went through what happened in the semester. The respondents to the study were the more male students that took part of the study, and more males that took part in the study. Most students are now combining studying studying part-time and working part-time as well. The results showed that the highest motivation for students to go to class is that they hope to gain a broader and deeper knowledge when they've completed the study, and it is important for them to understand the content of the study. But that is in contradiction with the lowest motivation, where they say that they don't attend class. They don't attend class with questions in mind. So students go to class because they want to have a deeper understanding, but they don't prepare for class by having a set of questions beforehand. And for qualitative findings, the students reported that after each class, they join a study group where they go over on WhatsApp what they've learned in class. They ask that, so this is what happened in class, who understood this, who didn't understand it. And they also highlighted that they personally do not attend certain classes because they feel that some lecturers just go through slides and don't have a deeper understanding. They don't go deeper into context. So they feel that such classes are more, they don't perceive to bring them value. And it was concluded, the study concluded that journaling, using the journaling approach allows for students to have a reflection and and course evaluations should be designed as part of the learning experiences for students. Evaluation exercises at the end of the course provide an avenue for lecturers to get better. And properly designing these course evaluation exercises could serve as a self-reflective journaling for reflective practice for both the lecturer or faculty members and the students. The main practical implication of the study is that it allows for a more inclusive approach for course evaluation exercise, and it provides students with more value and not just a mere tick box exercise. And the main theoretical implication of this study is that it is important. The main theoretical implication is the importance of theory-based course evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yolanda. 5 minutes ahead of schedule. It's really good. Which projects we like that? Okay, so thank you very much for a very, very interesting presentation. I think that this is going to be the way we go forward, without a doubt. Are there any questions for Yolanda? Not that she's not the primary researcher or the student, so she might be limited in terms of what she can answer, but if there are any questions for her, I'm sure she'll try. I don't see any hands up. But thank you very much. Thank you very much, Yolanda. I'm glad that you were able to step in and assist with this paper. So you can stop sharing your screen now. Are there any comments or any questions from any of the attendees for any of the students or any of the presenters? Just in general? No? Okay. All right. Well, I think we've come to the end of the presentations then. So Eddie, I think that's correct. Huh? We at the end of we've done all of them now.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, it looks like for room B, we have covered everyone that's on the program.
Yes.
So I take it that it is the end of today. The link for tomorrow's sessions will be sent out this afternoon. So if you are attending tomorrow as well, please check your mails later today. You will receive your new links for the next day. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Claire.
Pleasure.
Yeah, it was amazing. So I think that's about it. I don't think there's anything else I can say, eh?
No, I think I'll just thank again everybody for their hard work. It's really hard work to put these kinds of things through, and if it's your first time presenting, it can be quite daunting. So well done, especially when you're not even in a room full of people. I'm not sure which is worse. But thank you very much for everybody's attention and for your participation and the hard work in getting your papers done on time. Very good. Thank you very much and take care.
Thank you. See you all tomorrow. Good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.